So now we are joined by 3 clinics, Health Ministries Clinic in Newton, Healthcore in Wichita, and Genesis will be joining us virtually. Is that still the case? Okay, great.
Okay.
So I will turn it over to Dr. Weatherill.
Okay, and I think we're starting with Healthcore first, and we have some slides up here, and I have a clicker.
If you want to sit in the other chair, it might be easier.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have to push this button.
Yes, is it green?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're a Healthcore Clinic in Wichita, Kansas. We're an integrated health clinic, so we provide medical, dental, and behavioral services. And we also have an on-site food pantry that's available to our patients. And our patients are able to receive a voucher from their provider and come visit our food pantry once a month, and our pregnant patients can visit however many times they need. Yeah, I'm gonna turn around. So the way our Food is Medicine program is structured is we do 3-month cohorts, so 12 weeks with a monthly class, and each class is led by a different person. So we have a provider and a PA who lead our first class, and we also partner with Fundamental Fitness in Wichita, and we have a personal trainer come in and lead the second class. And I teach the last class, which is more focused on nutrition and diet. I guess I should have introduced myself. So I'm Katie. I'm a community health worker and a certified nutrition coach. And this is Amy. She's our director of outreach. So we do offer classes in English and Spanish. We have an interpreter there for our Spanish classes. And alongside the monthly classes, we do we partner with the Kansas Food Bank, and we give them weekly healthy food boxes. So that includes a produce box with fresh fruits and vegetables, and we're trying to implement some recipes in there as well. And another thing we do is we also partner with a K-State extension agent, and they lead some SNAP Ed cooking classes, and those are open to everyone at our clinic, but we try to encourage our diabetes patients to attend those as well. So one of the challenges, I guess, that we've had was patient retention and motivation to come to the classes. So one way we kind of worked around that was we opened up our criteria eligibility. At first, we had our providers screening patients with an A1C of 9 or more, and we just recently opened it up to encompass all diabetics, including pre-diabetics. And I think that we've seen success with that. Last year was our pilot year, so this is kind of our reset month, I guess. So our cohort recently just started in January. We had to reschedule the class, though, because of inclement weather conditions. So our first class will be in February. But we've seen success, I think, with opening it up to all diabetics. And we also have now included like an automatic text messaging system with reminder texts to come to the class and to come pick up their weekly food box. We're currently trying to think of ways that we can expand our food procurement. Right now, we only rely on the Kansas Food Bank to provide food, but we're really excited to hear everybody else share their success stories today, because we want to look at ways that we can start including local grocery stores or maybe some community gardens that can help lend some food. So we're super excited to start getting into that. Like I said, maintaining motivation can be a challenge. So we're just trying to think of ways that we can incorporate maybe some more people, get some medical assistants in there to do some vital screenings and try to provide more one-on-one with their provider while in the group visit. So that's something we can hopefully implement this year. Let's see, the SNAP cooking classes. Yeah, we'll start getting that in March. Is there anything you want to contribute, Amy?
So I'm Amy. I'm the director of outreach, and I'm also a nurse. We've participated in every one of the classes, and with the group learning, it's just amazing, the interaction. It's like less formal, so people, bounce ideas off of each other. It shows that they're not alone. There's questions like we've seen, like Katie was saying, the A1C over 9 is what we started with, and we've opened it up because we feel like capturing people on the front end of their diagnosis, maybe you'll get more buy-in. We also get referrals from the physicians, which is pretty amazing. I think you get more patient buy-in that way. When you call them and say, hey, I know you see this provider at our clinic, and they've suggested, that maybe you participate in these classes, so you have that buy-in. We have lots of buy-in from our patients and our providers. Like Katie said, I would really like to get more buy-in from our community so we can get food, maybe not just from the Kansas Food Bank. Yeah. Can't really think of anything else.
Opening it up to, hopefully opening it up to capturing other chronic diseases like hypertension.
Yeah, hypertension, obesity, yeah, because really our metrics have just been focused on that A1C of 9. It is hard to get, we do have provider and patient buy-in, but it is really hard, even in an urban area, to get transportation. People just can't, and so the, excuse me, the more parts and pieces that we see or that we add to the program, the harder it is to get people, to be able to participate in everything. So, and our classes are 2 hours. They are from 5 to 7. Our clinic's open till 7, so it's really not an issue as far as people working overtime or whatever.
We've got about 15 or 16 patients enrolled currently,
Yeah.
and last year we had a total of 67.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen the A1C levels going down, I think in about 70% of our participants. So that's a great metric. Yeah, but really I think just the camaraderie and the people being together and seeing that they're not the only ones that struggle with certain aspects.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I think we're going to transition to Genesis, who's with us virtually.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and ask Ruth Figueroa, who is with Genesis, to unmute. I think she's just going to narrate. No pressure to put your camera on. And we'll advance the slides for you, Ruth.
Sounds good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and get started. Well, like she said, my name is Ruth Figueroa. I work with Genesis Family Health. We're based out of Dodge City. I have been with Genesis for about 2 years now, but just recently started with the Food as Medicine program about 2 months ago. So I don't have a lot of information to share with you guys. The turnover, obviously, I'm finishing up with the last cohort that was being handled by the previous person that was in charge of the Food as Medicine program. So I'm still learning as I go as well. So this is very helpful with all the information everyone has provided. It's so helpful because I think I'm going to start doing a lot of that with my patients as well. Currently, right now, I'm kind of just helping patients be aware of the nutrition labels because a lot of those patients that I have are Spanish speaking, so they don't really know how to read nutrition labels. They're pretty much just buying everything that they see at the store. So right now, that's my focus is just showing them what they're consuming. And then do you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, please? So right now, what I'm doing is I finished with the last cohort of patients that we had. I just started with the new one. The program that I'm running, it's 8 weeks long. I meet with patients every other week on site, and then they get weekly phone calls just to see how they're doing. I do provide patients with a glucometer and also a blood pressure cuff. I've been showing them how to use it because that's also one thing that they don't know how to check their blood pressure. They don't know how to check their blood sugars. So that's something that patients have been very thankful for. This time around, I did provide a welcome bag, which just included what's in the pictures. Like I said, I'm still learning, so this is all very helpful. So that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I think we're in the process now of setting up video for our final clinic, Health Ministries. Is it a green light? No, hit it again.
I'm Mike Williams. I'm a family medicine doctor at Health Ministries Clinic in Newton, Kansas. We're an FQHC, and we have been doing food as medicine really for the last year or so. And before I get into what we're doing, I want to apologize.
Your slides are coming up soon.
Okay. I'm the guy that's been coughing in the back, and I appreciate all of you who've offered me cough drops this morning. I'm not sure whether I should blame one of my wonderful patients who shared their cold with me, or one of my beautiful grandchildren who, despite their snotty noses, want to give their Papa Doc hugs and kisses. But regardless, working through that cough, and I appreciate your concern for me. So our program in Food as Medicine is a 12-week program, and what I like to say that we do maybe a little differently than some of the other programs is we cook, and really, you know, I think the common theme through all this is the desire for behavior change. That's really what we're striving for. And I think we found in our program that one of the things that drives behavior change is actually being in the kitchen and cooking and trying new foods, and having that be a shared experience with all the participants. And I think we've seen significant behavior change by doing that. So we have a great team, and I think I want to emphasize the importance of the team being very important in the overall project. And these are the members of our team. We have a behavioral health person, Brittany, who talks about behavior change as part of our educational process, and we emphasize that on a weekly basis. And we have great administrative support in our clinic for what we're doing. The administrative staff in our clinic sees the importance of the program and what it's doing for patients. And so, and then we have various other members here that you see listed. So having a good team is important, and we found that to be the case. So again, our course, our course is 12 weeks of class. It's actually 10 weeks of classes. We have a couple breaks built in there. 6 of those weeks include actual cooking in a kitchen, working together, and then trying the foods that are made. At the end of that cooking session, we show the foods that were made. We talk about the nutritional values of the foods, and then we eat together. And while we're eating, we have a short educational session where we talk about what is a carbohydrate, what is a protein, what is an essential amino acid, and what does that mean, and how does that impact your diet, things like that. And then at the end, our last class is a potluck where we say, think about what you've learned these last 10, 12 weeks, make something and bring it and tell us why you made that. And And again, I think several people, actually everyone has mentioned the camaraderie that develops in these sessions as people work together, get to know each other, understand that their challenges are not just theirs, but they're everybody's, right? And so we found that to be very helpful. So what are the challenges that we've faced in the past and continue to deal with? One is just physical space and location, and people have talked about community partners. I think we found that to be very helpful too. We do our classes at the local high school in the culinary arts area. It's not the best space in the world, but it's workable and it's something that we can use. And it's something that the high school was glad to work with us with. We don't have a food pantry at our clinic. We don't have space to store food, and so there's another local organization where we store our food. They have the refrigeration capacity and other storage areas where we can keep our food there and then take it and distribute it to our patients who are involved in the program. We do give a weekly food box that again is provided by Kansas Food Bank, and patients are very appreciative of that as well. Mostly produce and fruits and vegetables that are really fairly high quality items. Patient recruitment was a little bit of a challenge. I think we addressed that by making some short videos to show to our providers to just let them know that we're doing this. I think they knew about it but didn't really understand what the program was about. And so we made some videos, one for our providers that we shared in one of our monthly meetings, another video that we just put on in our waiting rooms to let our patients know about it while they're sitting and waiting to be seen. And then we also produced some brochures and other things that have been helpful. So we went from kind of a little bit struggling to get people involved, get patients involved, to really having a pretty long waiting list now. And so that was a really good success, I think. And as people have said, attendance is sometimes challenging. But I think, again, in my experience, when people know they're going to be cooking and working in the kitchen together, that's a pretty big motivator. They like to come and cook together, and so that's been helpful. And then measuring outcomes is always a little bit of a challenge. We like to see improvements in A1Cs and in blood pressure and in weight, but is that really catching the whole picture? And I think the answer is it's not really catching the whole picture. And so some of those other kind of soft measurements about quality of life and engagement and just general happiness, I think those are worthwhile things to consider and think about, but are also a little bit harder to measure sometimes. So what else? What have we done to kind of look towards improvement? Things that we want to change. One of the things that our patients said is we love these recipes. We want recipes. We see the recipes at the cooking classes, and we said, well, you can get them online. You can, whatever. So we came up with a recipe book, and we provide that. This last cohort that we did, we gave it to them at the end, and they said, we don't want it at the end, we want it at the beginning. So this next cohort that's starting in February, we've got a recipe book that we're going to give them at the outset. They can look through that and look forward to that. Again, I think that'll help some with patient engagement as well. And then online access, again, we have all our recipes that are available online, helping people work through that and figure that out. We don't have many Gen Xers in our patient cohorts. They're folks who sometimes struggle a little bit with online access, but that's something that is a little bit of an issue. And then staffing is always a little bit of a challenge, and I think you all know what that means. So, but again, we have a great team, and our team's been together pretty much for a year now, and so that's really helpful. I think that's future challenges, right? So Location is always a challenge. We like to work with our local high school. It's not the greatest space. It's not always available. We're there one night a week. We'd love to expand and do more, but it's not really doable to make that happen. So that's always a challenge. This past summer, our high school was doing some renovations, and they're like, well, we can't really do that. So we moved to Halstead High School and worked there, which is a town just 10 miles from us. And so we made that work. But location is always a challenge. Funding is an issue. We love Sunflower. They give us money to do our program. That's great. What happens when they don't do that anymore, And so that's why we like to hear about the group visits and other ways that perhaps funding may be available for the future. And then just patient follow-up. Almost universally, our patients are like, okay, this was great. What's next? And we're like, well, yeah, nothing really. I'm sorry. But so they want to stay engaged. And so what does that look like? How do we make that happen? How do we help them stay engaged is a challenge. And I don't know that we have an answer for that yet. Again, it's just a staffing and a time thing, right? It's always a challenge to do that. So those are the things that we're thinking about and trying to figure out how that's going to work for the future. I think that's it.
We'll show that over lunch.
Okay, okay. So I'm looking at the time. I have a question, but then I'd also like to open it up for some other questions that people might have of all of our clinics. But really what's come up through most of these discussions are kind of these hidden ingredients to your programs that really don't have anything to do with the food. So we spent a lot of time in planning these programs about talking about, well, what are evidence-based diets for diabetes? What foods should we make sure we're including in the boxes and how much? But really a lot of the details that you're providing that people are seeming to find value in are things like peer learning, access to other community resources, personalized support, either from a CHW or some other one-on-one assessment and counseling and goal setting. So what have you learned now, and what would you recommend to others as really being essential ingredients for food as medicine beyond the food?
I think a big one is the socialization aspect. A lot of our patients do feel isolated, and I think one main barrier to optimizing their health is just feeling alone and overwhelmed. When you go to a doctor's visit and they tell you all these things, and a lot of them might not have a lot of health literacy, and so to them it's just being bombarded with information, and they're like, well, what do I do with this? And a lot of them have, many other issues other than diabetes, so it can be pretty isolating. You feel like you are battling all these alone. So I think one big part of our class is the camaraderie and the socialization, and people are able to share with each other some of their own successes and challenges, and just having that emotional support. Mm-hmm. And when people feel like they can be supported, they are more motivated to come back and learn more from each other and from us. So I would say just the peer learning is a secret ingredient for people to keep coming back and learning more about their health. So.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think the whole idea of group classes that was talked about earlier today, even if it's not food as medicine, I mean, that's what we are doing. But it's that shared experience that I think is important and helpful and does make a difference. So.
Okay, all right. Do we have any questions from the audience for clinics about their programs? Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
I have a quick question. What is the demographics of your classes? It sounds like they're mostly senior-based programs, a lot of older population. And then in the future, do you have goals of food as medicine for families? Is that like phase 2? Like, how do we engage our families? 2 questions, sorry.
Yeah, well, with our program, it's open to anyone, regardless of age, really. And so we have, it's usually 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, but not a lot of younger patients, but a wide variety. And the way our program works is we say, bring someone with you, and oftentimes that's a spouse, but we've had a grandmother bring her grandchild with her for the classes, or a significant other or whatever. And so we encourage that and recognize that, you can learn something here in our class, but if you go home and you can't apply that to your family, then it doesn't work, right? So I think personally, I would love to have a family class. I think that engaging those young kids and teaching them and helping them learn together as a family how to cook and how to eat can make a huge difference. But we don't have specific plans for that in our program at this point.
Dr. Williams mentioned earlier one of the partners that we have where we store our food. They do after school. One of the things they do a lot of things, but one of them is an after school program. And so we were just talking with her, and she was like, you know what? We've got all of these middle school students here all the time. And it would be really exciting to think about how we might do something with them about just healthy snacks, healthy eating. That's not been something that we've actioned yet, but that's a conversation that's there too.
And to piggyback off that, we've also had people participate. We've had people bring their neighbors, their caregivers, their children. We don't have anything specifically structured for families, but I think it's kind of neat to see other people take somebody else's health into consideration and want to be more educated. Ours are really pretty informal, so, I mean, the more the merrier.
So I have a question. I'm hearing a lot of the partners mention that they're the main source of the food that is coming from the Kansas Food Bank, which I think is awesome. I'm very supportive of all of our food banks in Kansas and Missouri, in my case. And I also am becoming increasingly aware through our Double Up Food Bucks program of sort of the critical nature, particularly in our rural areas, of just access to a true grocery store that has a produce department. And I feel like one of the things that we try to do, and I'm wondering how we can do this more with produce prescription programs, is driving more people to their actual grocery store. The true grocery stores with produce departments are struggling, and in rural areas, they're feeling more and more competition from the Family Dollars, the Dollar Generals, those types of places that are just cutting them to the bone in terms of being able to make a living. So I'm wondering, do you have plans to work with your local grocery stores more? Are you able to drive, not only just saying, hey, go to the grocery store, but are you thinking about ways to actually incentivizing people to go to grocery stores so they can? My fear is that we're providing them with all these great fruit and vegetable produce boxes, but if the grocery stores don't survive in our rural areas, then where are they going to get that in the future? Where are they going to get that later?
I'm wondering if real briefly, and then we'll transition, I'm going to put CHC on the spot because because I think they're doing exactly what you said. So do you want to share just a few words about that, Audrey?
Yeah. So we are getting most of our food from the Kansas Food Bank, but then so we weren't driven to go to the grocery store because of that, like encouraging people to shop local. It was because we're so far away from the Kansas Food Bank in Wichita that we only get the fresh produce once a month. And so we were like, we want people to have fresh produce more often than that. And And so I like reached out with the local grocer, and he was like, yeah, I would love to be involved in this program. I would love if you like sent people my way. So I like get the food from him. We've set up an ordering system. But I tell all the participants that like, oh, this comes from Ron's. You work with Ron's too. Yep. Yeah. So they're great. And they have like a great meat section, their like butcher section. And so when we do like the lean proteins, if we include that in a box, I'm always sure to like tell everybody that it comes from Ron's. I am very interested I think he would absolutely be willing, because I know that he does, he takes double up food bucks. And so I think that they would be very willing to work with us on a sort of like voucher system to like actually send people over there. That's not something that we have been doing. They've been picking the food up in their health home, which is because transportation is difficult in our area. We've been like, if you can make it to the clinic, we're going to give you everything you need here and not sending people to the grocery store. But our exit surveys, when the participants do that, we give them like a $25 gift card to a grocery store, and we have been encouraging them to take that to Ron's, the local grocery store. But I think some of the constraint that like we've had with the clinics is like the actual structure of this grant was to encourage partnership with food banks and not with local grocery stores. So I think that's like, that's a barrier. Yeah. Yep.
Jody's got something to add to that as well.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't actually know where Hoxie is, so we're out between Colby and Hayes. And so we, like I said, we did a vouchers. So we did a 6 months of voucher, and so it was to our local grocery store. But I definitely am interested in the double up because our grocery stores don't do that. We do have a chain that it would be great to know more. But we wanted people to be able to go and find the food in their local locations. And so that was part of our program, was to get them out and and so we did vouchers to the grocery store so they could go get their own produce, get what they needed for food, and to be able to use what they'd learned in the program to make things at home with what they were going to have access to.
Donna, you're going to run.
I'm so sorry. So. Okay, so my name is Davna Gould. I work with Healthcore Clinic in Wichita, and this is an interesting next step piece. So as we're thinking about caring for, educating our patients with the Food is Medicine program, how do they transition into our normal food system? And so teaching them how to shop in the grocery store, allowing them access with maybe some reduced cost produce, incentivize them to go out and use their natural space and learn how to eat and how to shop in that atmosphere. That's the key to sustainability. When we talk about that generational change, we're teaching these families, we're teaching these individuals, and then they have to go out and mimic this behavior in the community. And so that is a natural next step. How do we get them into the grocery stores to make healthy choices and in their surroundings? So very good point.
I'm Donna Pearson McClish with Common Ground Mobile Market and Mobile Food Hub. And one of the answers that we promote is that we have to ramp up the growing from our farmers in their respective communities. So as we ramp up the production and teach farmers and train them to increase their production, then the community has direct access to fresh produce. And the other issue is transportation. So we're mobile, we aggregate the food and move it to where it needs to go. So in order for us to combat some of these issues, we're going to have to aggregate local food. It's going to have to be grown locally, locally accessible to the end customer. We take senior market vouchers, SNAP, EBT, and all forms of payment. But we have to go back to the community gardening, the farmer growing, all of that. So our customers have access to food. We are an urban. We're in Wichita. We're an urban farm. And so we serve an urban community, lots of senior locations that don't have transportation. So transportation has been one of the key assets of getting food, healthy, fresh produce to our community members.
And I'd like to add to that. Transportation is a huge barrier. I keep hearing about rural food deserts, but we have really an urban food desert. I don't know that there's any grocery stores within any kind of distance of, yeah. So you have that also. Yeah.
Okay, this is exactly what we wanted. Great conversation, and we did some introductions too, so we saved some time there, Trina, so we're all good.